Hello, hello, and welcome back to Back Pocket Topics, a sports show. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Scott.
Welcome you guys to our NFL season preview.
Yeah, we're recording this on Thursday night, right before the Thursday games, or Thursday afternoon, right before the Thursday night games and the season opener. So we got to get this out quickly, and hopefully you guys can see this before those games and be as hyped for them as we are.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we'll get right into it since it is Thursday night. We'll start off talking about Thursday night football, first game of the year. I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, arguably two of the best teams in the league. No, they are two of the best, maybe the two best teams in the league with the Bills and the Rams. And I at least have one of them in my Super Bowl prediction. But so this is going to be a very, very fun game to watch, and we're starting off the season with a bang. So Cooper, I'll let you go first.
So as we get into this game, the spread favors the Bills. They're 2.5 point favorites. But for my prediction, I'm gonna have to go with the Rams winning tonight. I think they're the Super Bowl. They're the defending champs. It's in LA, and I'm pretty sure the ring ceremony is tonight too. I think all those combined, I think give enough cause for me to go with the Rams. Obviously, they're a super talented team. They're returning most of their guys from last year's championship team. They added Bobby Wagner. They added Allen Robinson. I think it's going to be a shootout. Don't get me wrong, but I do think the Rams are going to win tonight.
I disagree. I think the Bills are going to win tonight. I think the Bills are. Maybe it's because I'm just such a huge Josh Allen guy, and like just such a huge Bills guy in general. Like I love Josh Allen. I thought he had an argument for the best quarterback in the league last year. Like you just saw it in the playoff game against Mahomes. Like those two quarterbacks are just different. Like you can throw in Rodgers with them, but like at the end of the day, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are two unreal athletes, and I'd argue Josh Allen is the most physically gifted quarterback the league has seen since like prime Cam Newton. And like when you can run, like I know Allen didn't run like a 4.6 40 or whatever low or like a high 4.5 40, but on the field he looks like he runs like that, and he's just a freight train. And not to mention he's got the strongest arm, arguably of the last like 20 years, other than like
Absolute
Brett
cannon.
Favre maybe. But like the only guys that I could think of that challenge him are like Brett Favre and like I don't know, I can't speak for like Dan Marino, but like I've heard he has got like a crazy arm too. So but Josh Allen just incredibly talented. I think that he's going to have a big night tonight in a coming out party. And I think that Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs are just going to feast. And not to mention on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills had, I don't know if they had the best, but they had like a top 3 defense in the league last year. And with like the two safeties up top with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, they've got Tre'Davious White. They've got good linebackers. And now they brought in Von Miller from the Rams, who in that playoff run looked like a top 10 edge rusher, or at least in that caliber of player. So I just think that the Bills are one of the most talented teams in the league, and I would be surprised if they don't prove that this year. So, and I also think that the Rams, this is going to be an incredible game, obviously, and either there's a reason the spread is so close, but I think I'm going to lean towards the Bills for the reasons I said. But
Sure.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams come away with the victory.
Sure. And I think there's definitely something to be said. Obviously, everyone right away looks at Josh Allen and the Bills offense. They look at Cooper Kupp and the Rams offense. But there definitely is something to be said for these two teams' defenses. And I think you touched on that with the Bills' talented defense. I mean, the Rams, they've got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. I think everyone kind of is overlooking that aspect of that game tonight. And I think it's just going to be an all-around great game on both sides of the ball. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
For sure.
So yeah, now we're gonna move on to our sleeper teams and our overrated teams. We're gonna start with the sleeper teams. Cooper, I'll let you go first with who your sleeper team is.
Sure. So for this season, the 2022-2023 NFL season, my sleeper team is going to be the Indianapolis Colts. I think
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that the Colts were an extremely talented team last season. They obviously, bit of a heartbreaker, missed the playoffs after not being able to beat the Jaguars in the last week of the season. Um, but I think they're back for revenge this year. They had a major upgrade at quarterback, going from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. Matty Ice might not be the MVP caliber player he once was, but I think he's definitely an upgrade from Wentz, and I've talked about that. I think that the defense of the Colts is super talented. They had guys like Darius Leonard last year at linebacker, and in the offseason, I believe in free agency, it was either free agency or trade. I'm not quite sure. They acquired Stephon Gilmore on top of an already stacked roster. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to be an absolute freak, and I really like the Colts coming out of that AFC South division that, if I'm being honest, isn't really that talented. And I think
that's putting it lightly.
They're going to have a good season.
They're the only team in that division that's a respectable NFL franchise this year.
Scott, you want to give us your sleeper?
So I was between two teams for my sleeper. I was between the Ravens and the 49ers. I think that the Ravens are going to have a huge year. I think I'm going to choose the Ravens. Like the Niners just have that wild card with Trey Lance, and they're in a much tougher division, or not much tougher, but they're in a tougher division with the Rams. Obviously, I guess let's see. Actually, I don't even know if they're even better. Whatever. I think that the Ravens are probably going to be my sleeper because they're getting so many guys back from injury this year. It's kind of insane. Like they're gonna have J.K. Dobbins back. He was one of the most efficient runners in the league. They're gonna have Rashad Bateman for his full first season, basically, because as a rookie he flashed, but he was injured for so much of the year that you didn't really get a great read on him. But Rashad Bateman was a first-round wide receiver for a reason, and a top 15-ish, top 20 prospect, in my opinion, going in that draft class. And he's the perfect receiver to pair with Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson, people might have thought, oh, Hollywood Brown, he's talented. He didn't produce that well, so Marquise Brown isn't going to. Rashad Bateman's not going to produce as well. But then if you look at Rashad Bateman, he thrives as like a 3-level threat with an emphasis on the intermediate short game because he's got size, he's got hands, he's got some decent speed. It's nothing crazy, but he's definitely a solid athlete all around. And I think he reminds me a little bit of Michael Thomas in a way. Like, I think he's a little bit smaller than Michael Thomas, but he definitely has some Michael Thomas qualities. And that's exactly where Lamar Jackson thrives, is over the middle of the field or just in that short to intermediate range, which is why Mark Andrews had such a good year last year, because Mark Andrews is another player that thrives in that range. And I think Lamar's in a contract year. So Lamar is going to,
he's going to monster.
Lamar's in a contract year. He's going to go off. I drafted him in fantasy this year for a reason. The dude is going to go off. We're going to get flashbacks to MVP Lamar. But yeah, and then this offensive line's healthier this year, so that's all obviously going to be great. The receiving core is still thin, but I think, like I said, Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews are still great players, and you've got James Prochet, Devin Duvernay, and a couple other guys who can definitely play a good role. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you've got the defense as a whole is just getting healthier. Like those corners were so injured last year. There was a time where I think their top 5, all the top 5 corners on their depth chart were injured.
Their
Marlon Humphrey they were just decimated by injuries last year.
Yeah.
Just decimated. I just think they're in for such a big bounce back year, and they're definitely going to challenge the Bengals for the number 1 seed in that division. I think I'm still going to go with the Bengals for that, but the Ravens are definitely going to challenge that. And back to the 49ers, I just want to talk a little bit about them.
Sure.
I think that it's all dependent on Trey Lance about whether or not they can come away as a top 5 team in the league. If Trey Lance can become a top 12 quarterback in the league, which he definitely can with his talent and Kyle Shanahan's coaching. By the way, biggest Kyle Shanahan guy here. He's probably the best coach in the league, in my opinion. The best offensive mind and play caller, in my opinion, for sure.
Okay.
And he's going to make that job so easy on Lance. And when you pair that with Lance's tools, and Brandon Ayuk is going to have a big year, I think, because he's going to be a downfield weapon for Lance. And you pair that, and just that defense is really good. Their defensive coordinator is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. He's probably going to get a head coaching job soon. I think the 49ers are also in for a big year. But yeah, so those are my two sleeper teams. I'll let
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
I forgot to mention earlier, I was between another team. Other than the Colts, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be able to surprise a bunch of people this year. No.
Go on, go on, go on.
I think that they had a busy offseason. They brought in A.J. Brown. They just recently traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson to bolster up their defense. I have a feeling you're going to say some things about Jalen Hurts, but I think Jalen Hurts is a talented quarterback, and I think this year he can take the jump, bring the Eagles back to the playoffs. The offense, great run game. I don't know. I like the Eagles.
So on to the overrated teams. My overrated team this season is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
I've seen them getting so much hype as a top 8 team. I've seen them as a top 8 team. And I just can't imagine that. Like I said before, how Trey Lance is going to have a big year because he's got the talent. Plus, he's got Kyle Shanahan. He was able to sit for a year. But Jalen Hurts, he's not even close to the talent that Trey Lance is. I don't think his arm is all that. He's one of the least accurate quarterbacks in the league. He can't read a defense. He's just athletic. He's just a runner. He's a runner that's improving a little bit as a passer, but he's just still not a good quarterback. He's Drew Lock with legs, with a worse arm.
That's disrespectful.
That is my
That's disrespectful.
I'm sorry. They both can't read defenses. Like, Jalen Hurts is who Lamar haters think Lamar is. Like, Jalen Hurts I just can't get over that. So I don't know. Plus, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like, they've got great weapons. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got Devontae Smith. They've got great tight ends. Their offensive line is good. Miles Sanders is a question mark, but I like Kenny Gainwell behind them. I think they could be good. They could be a top 12 team, but I just can't see them as I don't think they're going to win a division. I think the Cowboys are going to beat them out there, but they're probably a lock for 2 because the Giants and the Commanders are in shambles. But I think that seeing them consistently as a top 10 team just doesn't sit right with me. Like, and they've made moves to bolster up their defense, and they had a bunch of draft picks. They've had an amazing offseason. But it just doesn't sit right with me. Like, with Jalen Hurts at the helm, this is Jalen Hurts' make or break year. If Jalen Hurts does not lead this team to the playoffs, because this roster is really good. If they can stay healthy and this team doesn't make the playoffs, it's all on Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is gone. Jalen Hurts, it's Carson Strong season, guys. I don't know if he made the final roster. I'm assuming he did because I like Carson Strong coming out, but it's Jalen Hurts is on the hot seat if this Eagles team isn't successful. But honestly, the main reason I picked them is because I couldn't really think of any other overrated team. Sure. But the Eagles, I think, definitely shouldn't be in the conversation as a top 8 team, which I've seen them as.
Scott Nance, officially Jalen Hurts' biggest hater, as we just learned. Maybe it's almost Gardner Minshew times. He's still isn't he the backup?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Gardner Minshew. Yeah, Minshew is going to become the starting quarterback by week 8.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. You mentioned how you didn't even think the Eagles would win their division. You mentioned the Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are my overrated team for this season. I feel like every single season that we go into, we hear all the Dallas fans, "This is our year. This is our year. We're America's team. This is our year.
Our year, guys.
Cowboys Super Bowl." No, it's not. It's just not. They have a talented roster. There's nothing to really argue about that. I don't think Dak Prescott's a solid quarterback. I don't think he's as elite as a lot of people make him out to be. I think the offensive line traditionally was probably the strongest part of this team. But I think that they got a lot weaker this offseason. They're going to be a weaker unit coming into this year than they were last year. I love Micah Parsons as a player. But I don't think that the Cowboys are as good as everyone thinks they are. I don't know. I don't get the hype.
Like, I 100% agree with that. They're not some top 10, top 8 team, but I think that both them and the Eagles are in that 11 to 15 range as a team. And I think that it's going to be a very close competition for who wins that division. But I just like the stability and the security of Dallas. Like, the Dallas, Mike McCarthy can't coach to save his life. And they're like, but they do have the talent on that roster. And when you have a quarterback like Dak Prescott, we know exactly what he is. There's no wild card
Yeah.
thing there. Like, Dak Prescott is going to be your 10th best quarterback in the league, 11th best quarterback in the league. He's going to put up numbers. He's going to lead this team. And I think that Dallas's defense is coming along. It's one of the better, I think it's going to be one of the better defenses that they've had in the past couple years. Like, their defense has always held them back. But Michael Parsons is in for a Defensive Player of the Year caliber season. Trevon Diggs, as much shit as people talk about him, he's not a top 10 corner, obviously.
Have you seen
But
the
he's
training
still
camp
good.
videos? He's getting dusted
I have seen
by
training
like
camp,
third
training
stringers.
camp videos. Yeah, well, if you look at training camp videos, you can make me look like an NFL player. Like, I feel like training camp videos are not the best way to evaluate someone, especially when you're a player like Trevon Diggs, who definitely thinks he's a top 2 corner in the league.
Right.
So he's like, maybe he's not giving it 100% in training camp. I just think there's too many variables there to really take training camp videos as more of just memes. But yeah, so I think that Trevon Diggs is probably like 15th, 20th best corner in the league. Like, he's still a playmaker. He's going to give them get takeaways, and I think he has shown some improvement of like only chasing the ball. At least that's what I've seen him in the training camp videos. As much as I just said they're not valid, but yeah, I don't know. I get better vibes from the Cowboys than I do with the Eagles, so I'm just taking them as like the winner of the NFC
Yeah.
East. But it's definitely going to be within a game or two.
I still think that like I'll see these rankings that people make and they're just like Cowboys like top like 6 or 7. I'm just like,
If
no,
they're top 6, then
can't
I
see
didn't
it.
see any of them as top 6. But like, if they're top 6, they would be my overrated team too.
Yeah,
So yeah.
for sure. Do we want to go into Super Bowl prediction or do we want to go into top 5 teams? What do we think?
Let's do top 5 teams real quick, because
Okay.
then that's going to be talking about teams that we think about for the Super Bowl. Probably.
Sure.
So, do you want to go? Do you want to? How do we want to do this?
We can
do we want to
each talk
reveal the
about our number
teams?
1 and then each talk about our number 2, stuff like that.
Or how about we just say our top 5 and then we just can talk about the team, so we can talk about them together, so
Okay,
that we're not like
that's a good
jumping
idea.
all over the place.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I'll start with my number 1 team. I kind of already talked about them, so I guess we can just breeze by this, or I'll let you say some words. But I have the Bills as my number 1 team. But for the reasons I said earlier in the video, just Josh Allen being incredible, this team being so well-rounded, the defense being top 3 in the league, just they've got so much to like. Like, Sean McDermott is one of the best coaches in the league. I think he's an underrated coach. He's probably not quite a top 5 coach, but he's definitely up there as a defensive mind. And I don't know. I just really I think that this is the Bills' year, and that if we want to just flash the Super Bowl predictions real quick, even though I just said not to, but I want to talk a little bit more about the Bills.
Sure.
The Bills are the team I'm going to be picking to win the Super Bowl. I think that the Bills are just that team this year, and they're going to look unstoppable as the season's going on. And who knows? Maybe tonight, in like 4 hours or 3 hours, they're going to get beat by the Rams, and I'm going to look like an idiot. But like, who knows?
Yeah, I think the Bills are a super talented team. I don't have them as my number 1, but they are up there. They're in my top 5. Do you want me to go with my number 1?
Yeah, sure. Who's your
Sure.
number 1?
I mean, I think we're just mirroring what we talked about already. My number 1, I got to go with the defending champs, running it back. Get the LA Rams. I mean, I talked about them earlier. Super talented offense, super talented defense, star players on all sides of the ball. Sean McVay, talented coach. I don't know. The only thing that scares me a little is this Matt Stafford elbow injury. But everything I've been reading has just been saying that he feels great. He's 100%. He'll be fine.
And regardless, the dude's played through injuries his entire career.
It's Iron Man.
I'm sure he'll be fine. Like, even if something's bothering him right now, he'll be completely fine by like week 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
but
think
like,
the
and yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I just think the Rams will be able to run it back. I don't know. I don't know. Nothing's really
Seeing as the
stopping them.
Rams sit at number 2 on my list, I
Sure,
100% agree with what you're saying. Who's number 2 on your list?
the Bills. So it's
Okay,
just a
perfect. Now we just
little
move
flip
on. Now
flop.
we just move on to number 3.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you got it.
My third team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, what are your thoughts on that? What are your
I
thoughts on the
like the
Bucks?
Bucks. I got them at the my fifth best team. Um, I mean, obviously, there's Tom Brady. No matter how old he is, only three things are certain: death, taxes, and Tom Brady being in the playoffs. I don't know. They're a super talented team, lots of superstars. Over the offseason, they signed my guy, Akeem Hicks, bolster up that defense. I don't know. I obviously the offense is talented. You got Brady, you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin. I think the defense on this team is super good. You got Devin White, you got Akeem Hicks, I just talked about, Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett.
You've got Levante David. You've got Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of my favorite players in the entire league. Like even going back to like the first draft that I ever scouted, like going in depth, was the 2020 draft. Antoine Winfield was my sleeper in that draft class, and that has played out very well. I thought he was the best safety in the draft, and that he was a top 20 player in the draft. And the Buccaneers got him at pick 45, 4 picks before I wanted my Steelers to get him, and he's just done nothing but ball out during his career. He's worked his way up to a top 10 safety in the league, in my opinion. And when I just think that the Buccaneers, yeah, you're so right about how good the Buccaneers defense is. That defense is also, like, as I was talking about, like all three of these top teams. Like, that's why I have the Buccaneers at number 3, because I think that the top 3 teams have the 3 top defenses in the league, probably, with the Bills, the Rams, and the Buccaneers. And they all have great offenses. The Buccaneers have Tom Brady, who's a top 5 quarterback at the very least. You've got Julio Jones, who they brought in. Who knows what Julio's going to be like? But if he can stay healthy and actually have a relevant role, which is obviously asking a lot from him,
Yeah,
but Julio Jones could be an X factor when it comes to the playoffs if he can just stay healthy for the playoffs.
we'll see
Because
about
this team
that.
is a shoe in to make the playoffs. So if he can stay healthy for the playoffs, then this team can be really good. And you're getting Chris Godwin back. You're getting Mike Evans back. This offensive line is extremely talented. Their running backs are fine, but running backs are running backs, so it doesn't really matter. Um, they
No
lost
Gronk.
Gronk, but
No
yeah,
Gronk. That's what I'm
they
saying.
did
That's a
lose
big
Gronk.
loss.
Yeah, it is a big loss, but I don't know. I feel like they've always had a deep tight end room. They've still got Cameron Braid, I'm pretty sure, and he's not the worst thing in the
I
world.
believe.
And
Yeah.
I think he makes up for. And I think that the rest of this team can easily make up for for a average tight end. So
Yeah, that's more the fun
yeah,
factor for me. No more Gronk. That's
yeah,
sad. I love Gronk.
yeah. Definitely makes the vibe of this team go down a little bit more.
All right. So at number 3 for me, I've got another team from California, Chargers.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Right. I've heard. Well, you touched on your Super Bowl prediction. I got the Chargers making it to the Super Bowl. I think that they're a super talented group. I keep saying the word talented, but that's what they are. They got
It's true,
superstars
yeah.
all over the place. Justin Herbert, I think, is going to solidify himself as being right up there with Mahomes and Allen this year as the top 3 guys at QB. They've got Keenan Allen. They've got Mike Williams catching the football. They got Austin Eckler at running back. He's super talented. He'll be catching passes too. I think their defense is good. It was good before this offseason, but in this offseason, they got Khalil Mack from my Bears. They got J.C. Jackson, and they already had Derwin James and Bosa. I don't know, man. I feel like the Chargers are just super good, and I think they're going to make the jump. I think they're going to be that Super Bowl team. Justin Herbert, super talented. I don't know, super good.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert is definitely an MVP candidate this year, and you'd be foolish to think that to just write him off as a young quarterback who's like just going to be inconsistent or whatever. Justin Herbert is definitely an MVP candidate. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he's going to make this offense a very efficient and a very high high scoring offense. So
Mhm.
it's not up to the defense. But here's where the defense, I have a few concerns. Like, they're very star studded with Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, and JC Jackson. But I still think that the main problem for the Chargers last year and why their defense was so horrible last year is because they just had so many holes where there's literally, they just have scrubs that just cannot handle playing on an NFL field against high level opponents. And it doesn't help that, like, in their division, like, their linebackers suck. Kenneth Murray is not the player that we thought he was coming out of college. He cannot play coverage at all, and he's not even the best run defender. Travis Kelce and Darren Waller in that division are just too much for him at all, and I think that's going to cost them a couple of games because of that. Like, they can put Derwin James on him, but then that limits what they can do as like a full-fledged defense. And I think that their defensive line, apart from their two edges, like, I think just basically up the middle is going to be a huge weakness for them. Like, I think, I don't know. I just think that they still have a lot of holes on the defense that's going to hold it back from being a top 10 unit or whatever. And I do think that the Chargers are a top like 7, 8 team in the league, but I just can't put them up this high because I've still got questions. Plus, they're a very young team. They're a little more unproven. And, like, I don't know. I like the safety of some of these other teams over them. But I definitely can. I love the Chargers pick up here because if you're right, this is going to look awesome for you. And I 100% can see you being correct. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you did touch on that talented division. I don't know, playing the Broncos with Russ now, playing Patty Mahomes, playing the Raiders. It's going to be tough, but I think they've got what it takes. And maybe their defense won't exactly hold their own sometimes, but I think Justin Herbert and the offense are just going to give me all the points. Give me all the points.
Yeah, they're going to be one of the most. They're going to be the most. They have an argument for the most entertaining team this season.
Right.
And, like, there's always a joke how the Chargers can't sell tickets. This year they're going to be selling tickets, and that's not even a debate.
Sure.
But yeah, for me, moving on to the fourth best team, I'm staying in that division. I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they lost Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill is the best receiver for Patrick Mahomes. The best receiver that Patrick Mahomes can have, and arguably the best receiver in the league. I would still take Adams and Jefferson over him. But they're in the same tier. If Tyreek Hill's hands weren't so bad, then he'd be number one, but Tyreek Hill just has those drops that just can end drives.
Yeah, in my time watching football, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but probably the most physically gifted player I've seen. But just his speed is insane.
His speed is just so damn game breaking.
Right.
Like, literally, it doesn't matter who you put on him if he doesn't have safety help over top, and if that safety's not talented, then you're just screwed. So, and pair that with Patrick Mahomes' arm, or just basically just get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands, and he was able to cook, which is why the Dolphins are still going to be able to use him, even though Tua doesn't have the best deep ball. But anyways, back to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, him or Josh Allen. I'm going Patrick Mahomes still.
Okay.
When you have the best quarterback in the league, and when you've got a top 2-3 coach in the league in Andy Reid, you're going to have a great offense. And, like, you've still got Travis Kelce, who's going to feast this year. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster, who I'm banking on having a bounce back. Like, I guess he had like 2 down years or something, 3 down years. But I'm banking on him bouncing back. And then you've got Sky Moore, who's a rookie coming in, who I think is very talented and I thought was incredible value with their pick that they got, and he fits into this team perfectly. You've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who can play that deep threat, who's 6'4" and can run a 4.4 40. And then, his hands aren't the best, but, like, I don't know, whatever. Whatever.
Sorry.
MVS is MVS. I don't know. He's fine. There's a reason I mentioned Sky Moore before him. But their offensive line is pretty good. You've got Creed Humphrey, who's quarterbacking that offensive line, and Creed Humphrey is coming off one of the best rookie seasons for a center. So I wouldn't be surprised if, so this offensive line is probably going to be good again, and Creed Humphrey could be the best center in the league again. So, and still the offense is set. The defense, I think, has some question marks for sure, but they're going to be a better team than last year, especially because Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing more conservative football because he's not going to be chucking it up to Tyreek Hill every single time. I think they're going to play a little bit more of a inside 20 yards and like just basically play through Travis Kelce and play through Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that those two guys are going to have really big years because Juju, on the Steelers at least, has transformed his game into more of that just like physical guy in the short to intermediate game. And that's just perfect for what they want this year. And they can use Sky Moore and MVS to stretch the field. And there's also McCole Hardman too. But like, I think that, I don't know, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to dominate time of possession this year. And while their defense isn't great, I just have faith in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid that like, I can't imagine them not being a top 5 team in the league.
Sure. Did we touch on my 4th place team? No, we didn't, because I had the Bucs at 5. My number 4 team in the league, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, coming off that Super Bowl run that maybe not everyone expected, but I think everyone woke up. That was like your wake-up call. Joe Burrow's here. He's a good quarterback.
Jamar Chase has awoken.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, I'd say top 5 receiver.
It's tough. We're gonna do we will be doing a video doing positional rankings. I just know we will because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Jamar Chase is in that conversation. I think this season can solidify him as that, but
that's enough. Yeah. That's a talented weapon.
Exactly.
Obviously, you've got the other guys: T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon at running back. This offensive line was atrocious last year, especially during the playoff run that they had. In the Super Bowl, they were getting absolutely eaten alive. But I think that they really improved their offensive line during the offseason. I think that the defense is good enough. I wouldn't say
I'd say their defense is good. I think it's one of their strong points, honestly.
Okay. I mean, sure, help me out. I mean, yeah, they're good.
I have them as my 5th team, so like I like them too. So
perfect. Hey, come on in.
Yeah, as for on the defensive side of the ball, Trey Hendrickson was a top 10, 12 edge rusher last year. Logan Wilson was a breakout player at linebacker. Their corners did the job, and like they've got Jesse Bates still. And I just think that this defense is just a really good. Like I don't think they're like top 5 defense, but they're a top 10 defense for sure, and definitely a plus on this team. Like it's not a question mark at all. It's not like even a neutral. I think this defense is definitely going to get the job done, and yeah, their interior of the defensive line is also really good.
Yeah, so I just think all in all, I mean, they've done it before, proven playoff experience, even with that bad O-line from last year. Yeah, I mean,
perfect.
That's basically us talking about our 5th place teams too.
Yeah, so now I'm just going to briefly say the teams that I like. I'm not really going to go into much detail, but the teams that I was thinking about that I didn't quite have in my top 5. I had the Chargers, who we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Ravens, who I already talked about some. I've got the 49ers, who I already talked about some. And then I've got the Packers. I think that the Packers, you've got Aaron Rodgers. I think, and like when you have Aaron Rodgers and that team is just talented all around, that defense is very good as well. I think they're going to be a top 10 team for sure, if not a top 7 team, top 8 team. Like it's yet to be seen whether or not they're going to still be that top 5 team without Devontae Adams, but I think that Christian Watson is my guy, and I think he's been getting hated on a little bit too much in this offseason process, and I think Christian Watson is going to be a big player this year, and he's just an unreal athlete that is going to pair perfectly with Aaron Rodgers, and there's just no better place for him to land, really, and I don't know. The Packers are definitely going to be a top 8 team, top 7 team, in my opinion.
So, I like the Packers a lot. I think everyone's making too big of a deal out of the fact that, Rodgers has no one to throw to. Like, yeah, I mean, that's true. It's not a talented wide receiver room or pass catching room at all. But
even without Adams, they've been a successful team when Adams has been hurt. So
this is kind of what Rodgers does. I mean, he takes these guys. It's like Brady on the Patriots, like Edelman, Wes Welker, all those guys. Rodgers is a good enough quarterback to where he can elevate these guys' games through his elite quarterbacking skills. And yeah, everyone talks about, Devontae Adams, he left, he's gone. People kind of forget that the whole reason that the Packers didn't give Devontae as much money as he wanted is so they could spend that money to improve that O-line, to improve that defense, and really make them a more well-rounded team overall. And I think that they're definitely going to be able to make a deep playoff run this year. Some teams that I might have left off, I mean, I touched on the Eagles and Colts. The Chiefs, obviously, they're up there. I think the Broncos will be pretty solid this year with Russ. Nothing else is really jumping off the page to me.
The Steelers are going to be a top 10 team this year.
I don't know about that.
Who said that?
Yeah. Must have been a little random person must have entered our call. Can't think of who might have said that.
I don't know. They're based though, so very good. Anyways. Do you want to move on to
sleeper team? Just came to me. New Orleans Saints. Think about it. Jameis is back. That offense is going to be solid. If Alvin Kamara doesn't
Michael Thomas is back too.
Yeah, they got Olave coming in.
Their defense is always good too. So.
I think they're solid. They're not going to win the division, but they can make the playoffs.
They're definitely a playoff team for sure. They're in that in the hunt for the sixth or seventh seed. So
sure.
Definitely in that 10 to 16 range of teams. So yeah. Anyways, I think we'll end this off by talking about our awards predictions for this year, starting off with the MVP award. I think I've made my opinions pretty clear. My MVP is Josh Allen, and I think I've talked enough about him, so I'll hand the floor over to you, Cooper. So I'll be my guess. Mine
was also going to be Josh Allen.
Hey,
arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. Cannon for an arm. He's gotten more and more accurate each year he's been in the league. His mobility you talked about, making throws on the run, rushing. He's gotten
so much more poised too. He can make throws all over the field from the pocket too.
Yeah,
his pocket presence has improved. I think if he can stay, the big thing for him has been consistency, because when he's been at his best the past 2 years, he's been the best quarterback in the league. The big thing for him is consistency, and I think that he's shown that he's been able, that especially in the big time moments, that he's been able to step up to the plate and make those big time throws and those big time drives to lead his team to victory. And I just think this year is the Bills and Josh Allen's year. So yeah, that's my MVP. And I guess I can say a runner up real quick. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert for my runner up, because almost the same reasons, honestly. Justin Herbert is low key a little bit of a Josh Allen light in a way. So I don't know. A little bit worse of an athlete probably, but
sure. I think both those guys too are surrounded with super talented supporting casts. Allen's got Diggs and Gabe Davis. He might not have the running back like Herbert does with Eckler, and he's got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. But overall, they're just both playing on good teams too, and I think team wins definitely helps your case for MVP in all sports. And I think both these teams are teams that can win their divisions and definitely make a strong push for MVP.
Okay, yeah. And then now on to Offensive Player of the Year. My Offensive Player of the Year is Justin Jefferson. I think that the Vikings offense, there's been reports that the Vikings offense is going to be a little bit more pass heavy this year, which is only going to benefit Justin Jefferson. And plus with the new coach over, and Kevin O'Connell, I think his name is, he's going to be implementing the Rams scheme, which is going to put Justin Jefferson in that Cooper Kupp role. And we all saw how that worked out for Cooper Kupp last year.
Yeah.
So Justin Jefferson is my pick, and I think he's going to make the ascension into the best wide receiver in the league this year. And he's been the most productive receiver in the first 2 years of a career that we've basically ever seen. And I think this year is going to be no different. He's going to get his 1,500 plus yards, maybe even 1,800 this year. Who knows? His 10 touchdowns, and he's just going to feast. So yeah, that's my
It's crazy to think that we're kind of just watching the start of a Hall of Fame career just kind of unfold.
We're watching history. We're watching history,
and that sounds like people might hear that and they're like, "No, that's an exaggeration." It's not. It's really not. And you touched on how he's going to be inserted into that Cooper Kupp role that he was in last year with the Rams. And Jefferson's just a better athlete, better receiver.
For sure.
So the numbers, Kupp had the best wide receiver season of all time. I I'd like to imagine Jefferson can put up those numbers for sure.
Yeah.
However, my pick is Jonathan Taylor, running back from the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, he kind of got robbed last year. I feel like in a typical season, he would have won Offensive Player of the Year with his stats that he put up. But as I just mentioned, Cooper Kupp came along, had like the best wide receiver season ever, stole that award from him. I think Taylor's coming back hungry this year. He's playing in that improved Colts offense that switched out Wentz for Matt Ryan. I don't know. I think another monstrous season is coming from JT. And he's got as good of a chance as anyone.
100% agree. He was the number one pick in fantasy football for a reason. I have him on my team, on two of my teams. We're loaded this year. That offensive line is perfect for him. He's showing upside in the receiving game. Jonathan Taylor's in for a big year, and he's probably my runner-up for this award. Anyways, onto the defensive player of the year. I'll let you go first for this one.
I touched on this player earlier when I was actually talking about my overrated team. I've got Micah Parsons winning it. You're making a face. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of a hot
it's because you stole my guy. I chose Micah Parsons.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna think of another guy. So
sure, then it's not a hot take.
No,
Micah Parsons was in the running last year to win Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. I mean, he posted, I want to say 12, 13 sacks, something like that. He can do it all, pressure the quarterback, shut down the run game, playing coverage a little bit. I think he's entering his sophomore season with as much upside as any player on the defensive side of the ball in the entire league. I mean, Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett, and I guess I'll talk about TJ Watt, are always going to put up superstar seasons. But I think Parsons is going to have a really, really, really great year. And I wouldn't say he's a lock for Depoy, but I'd say he's got a good shot.
Mm-hmm. Like, especially because this is his second year playing out as an edge rusher at an NFL level, really. So I think we can only see him, like, he's still a linebacker, obviously, but he's going to be rushing the passer a ton, of course. And he, as a second-year linebacker, being able to refine his toolbox a little bit more, it's going to be scary, which is why I had him as my pick. But I guess I'll go with a little more of an out there, a little bit more of a fun take. I'm going with Derwin James. Simply, like, the traditional defensive player of the year is an edge rusher who's going to get sacks and strip sacks and all that stuff and force pressure, which is probably going to be that this year. But Derwin James, not like this Chargers defense still has holes, like I said, but they're a lot better than they were last year. And if Derwin James can stay healthy, which has proven to be a big if, but if he can stay healthy, they can move him around as a chess piece and do whatever they want with him. And with Brandon Staley as their coach and finally being able to implement their defense, I'm talking myself into like having the Chargers higher on my
power rankings.
But I think Derwin James is going to be a playmaker this year. You're just going to see him on every single play. He's going to have the challenge of going up against the tight ends in his division. He's going to go up against some receivers. He's going to get a couple of sacks. He's just going to be everywhere.
He flies around the field.
Exactly. Yeah. He's the best safety in the league when he's healthy. That's just been the only problem. So like if he stays healthy, I think Derwin James can definitely be like that guy this year. So yeah, he'll be my defensive player of the year prediction. Although Micah Parsons is definitely up there. TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett.
Sure.
Is Myles Garrett got a Depoy? I don't think so, right? I think he could be in for.
Was he close to it the year the whole?
Yeah, I think he would have won it the helmet year, the Mason Rudolph year, except for the fact that he decided his rage got the best of him.
Right.
But
could have been justified.
But the Browns are just kind of a shit show this year. So
yeah, they're gonna be
pun intended. I think that he's just not really going to be up in the conversation this year just because of how bad the Browns are going to be this year.
You might have some bias.
Yeah. No bias at all. The Browns, I don't really mind many of my division rivals, but the Browns are the one team that just grinds my gears. I'm saying. I don't know. But yeah.
Sure.
Anyways, we want to move on to rookies?
Oh,
Rookies?
yeah. I was gonna go with comeback player of the year next, but we can go rookies if you want.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Start with offensive rookie of the year. I think this is a very competitive race because there's just no clear cut guy, and it really
Mm,
could be anybody. It could definitely be one of these receivers because there are a lot of good receivers this draft. It could, in theory, be a running back, but we haven't heard the best things from Brees Hall during camp and during preseason. So I don't know. And the Jets just seem to be in a little bit of a mess right now with like injuries and stuff. As much as I like them going into the offseason, but so this is no bias whatsoever, and I know he's not the starting quarterback, but he's gonna take over for the MVP after a couple of weeks. So I'm gonna go with Kenny Pickett. The Offensive Rookie of the Year has historically been a quarterback award, even when it definitely shouldn't have been. And Kenny Pickett is a pro-ready quarterback who has shown that he is poised and accurate and just really good throughout the preseason. And he worked his way up the depth chart. And I think that he'll be starting a game in the first by at the very latest week 5, maybe week 6 at the very latest. And that might not be enough time for him to actually win the award. But in a weaker draft for offensive players and just a weaker draft in general, at least for skill position offensive players. Because if this wasn't a skill position thing, then I'd probably go with one of the offensive linemen, but it's a skill position thing. So I think Kenny Pickett is going to be the offensive rookie of the year, leading the Pittsburgh Steelers to their winning record, and Mike Tomlin's record is going to stay alive.
yeah, right. I think anytime you preface a statement with not to be biased here or anything, you just have to take everything following with a little grain of salt, maybe.
No, 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 no. I am the least biased person there is.
Right.
I think I view my team as I think I view it pretty well. I don't think I'm blinded by anything. I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm just excited for this year because we've got a new look offense, but I don't know. I think this offense is going to be pretty solid this year.
Yeah. I wish I could be excited about my team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Offensive rookie of the year coming into like a little bit like a couple of weeks ago. If you asked me this question, I was pretty high on Treylon Burks and his situation with the Tennessee Titans, kind of filling that AJ Brown sized hole in that offense. A lot of people have compared them like as being somewhat similar players. I think Burks is a pretty good combination of like size and athleticism and strength, like AJ Brown is. Really, what made me think all that was that someone's got to catch the ball down there. But as we've gotten closer to the season, I've heard some not great things about Burks, and about how he can't get up that depth chart at all. And then my better sense kind of kicked in and just like, yeah, Ryan Tannehill sucks. So instead, I'm going to go with Dameon Pierce, running back for the Houston Texans. We talked about him a little bit in our fantasy episode. I don't think the Texans are going to be good by any means, but I think that their offense is going to catch some people by surprise. I think Davis Mills is solid, and I really think that Dameon Pierce is going to be able to be that workhorse, bell cow running back. They released Marlon Mack. It's paving the way for him to be the clear-cut RB1. He's talented. He can do it all. He's kind of similar to Javonte Williams, I think we talked about.
Yeah, just a less athletic, less explosive Javonte.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to have a pretty good season, put up stats that are worthy enough of earning him Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Dameon Pierce is definitely a good option for that as well. So yeah, moving on to Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'll let you go first for this one since I went first for the last one.
Okay. I will say, you guys might have been able to, our listeners might have been able to pick up on this so far. I definitely know a lot more about offense than I do about defense. But
Most people do, so.
Yeah. Not to say I'm a casual, because I'm not a casual. I just like to put that out there. I've got Aiden Hutchinson from Detroit. He's the guy that everyone thought was going to be the number 1 overall pick. At least I thought. The Jaguars came in, shocked the world. I'm sure the Lions rejoiced when he fell down to them at 2. I think he's the best defensive prospect from this draft. He had a pretty dominant college career from what I remember at Michigan.
Dominant senior season, yeah.
Sure. And I think he's going to be able to chase down NFL quarterbacks, specifically Kirk Cousins. I don't like Kirk Cousins.
Not Justin Fields, though?
Nah, Justin Fields is too fast. He's not going to get him. And I think that he's going to be a major part of that Lions defense, and he's going to help them shut down offenses, maybe force a few fumbles, get a bunch of sacks. I think it's good. Good pick.
So yeah, Aiden Hutchinson was my pick as well because he's so NFL ready. He's such a good athlete. He looked good in preseason for the most part, and I thought that he's probably the best option. But I'm just gonna steer it in a little bit of a different direction here, just the same way I did for Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm gonna go with Sauce Gardner. I just think he's been incredible. He's been incredible throughout the preseason and in camp. I don't even think he allowed a single catch throughout preseason.
I don't even think he got targeted.
Yeah, exactly. The dude is locked down. And there's this whole stigma or just this whole everyone knows that he didn't allow a single touchdown in college or whatever. And that they're saying, oh, how long is it going to take for him to let one up in the NFL? And I'm just saying, if he can even hold on to that that little stat for 8 weeks or something, 6 weeks, he's locked for Rookie of the Year, for Defensive Rookie of the Year, just because he might not get the most interceptions, he might not get the most I don't know, but because of this stat, he's going to be under a microscope, so people are going to still be able to notice him and see him. He plays for New York. He's is known as this cocky, just this crazy, this alpha corner.
It's definitely got the swag. It's got
exactly.
The swag.
You saw his drip on draft night. The dude is nice. He's like that. I don't know. I just think that Sauce Gardner, if he can even back up half of this hype that he has, he could definitely be the Defensive Rookie of the Year and find his way as a top 10 corner, top 15 corner by the end of the season.
Sure.
So yeah, let's move on to Comeback Player of the Year. I'll let you go first for this one.
Yeah. I've got this player on my fantasy team, Christian McCaffrey, coming back from 2 injury-plagued seasons. I think he's the most talented running back in the league. I don't think the Panthers are going to be very good. I don't think a lot of people think they're going to be good. He's got Baker at Q, and I think he's all right. I think he's kind of overhated. But I think McCaffrey is going to be the focal point of this offense. I think everything's going to run through him, whether it's run plays, getting him the ball on screens or dump offs, or even he goes out in the slot and runs routes. So he can do it all. I think he's going to post pretty good numbers this season, a lot of touchdowns. The Panthers aren't going to score that much, but when they do score, I think it'll be McCaffrey. And I think that's a pretty good sign.
Mm-hmm. I definitely disagree with the fact that he's the most talented running back in the league or whatever when healthy, but he's definitely a good pick for Comeback Player of the Year. And I don't really know who I'm going to pick for Comeback Player of the Year, so I'm just going to list out a couple of names that I could see. Sure. Starting off with Allen Robinson. He was just disappeared on that Chicago. He was a ghost on that Chicago offense last year, as you know all too well. But now on the Rams,
he wasn't even trying. That's what it felt
exactly.
like. He wasn't
exactly.
Even, yeah, whatever. Go on. Sorry.
I was a huge Allen Robinson guy going into the year. He was. I had him. This is probably my worst take that I have that I posted on my TikTok. It was Allen Robinson is a top 6 receiver in the league and better than Michael Thomas and all that. Oof. I pushed that narrative because on film the year before it looked like the dude was insane. He was a top 10 receiver, no doubt. He was such a fluid mover. He was such a big guy, a good route runner, great hands. One of the best. He was basically DeAndre Hopkins, a mini DeAndre Hopkins, but taller. So I guess DeAndre Hopkins is light. So I don't know. I feel like on the Rams now, he's going with Robert Woods and Odell gone. He's going to get a lot of targets.
Yeah, Odell might come back. You don't know.
He might, but I wouldn't count on it at this point. at this point, especially at the beginning of the season, Allen Robinson is going to be reinvigorated to just have to like get his like get his reputation back, and just like I think he's going to be in for a big year. So Allen Robinson's definitely an option, especially
For
because he's
sure.
playing for the Super Bowl champions. So he's going to get
Yeah.
a lot of publicity for it too, and just a little bit of. And I guess there's also Jameis Winston. I don't know, could
I
be
like Jameis.
an
He's got
option.
that dog.
Yeah,
He's got that dog in him.
he does. He does got that dog in him.
Yeah.
And yeah, also we could see the return to MVP levels with Mitch Trubisky as the comeback player of the year.
Money
So
Mitch.
exactly.
Love
I don't know.
Mitch.
So yeah,
I mean, that kind of, I was going to mention when you were talking about A-Rob, there's definitely something to be said from how he's going from like Blake Bortles to Mitch to Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, Fields. Like, I think Fields can be good, but like all
as a
those,
rookie, yeah.
sure, bottom tier quarterbacks to going to Matt Stafford this year, he's definitely going to take a jump.
Yeah.
Do we want to go Super Bowl predictions?
I already gave who I'm going to say is going to win. So I guess I have the Bill. Yeah, sure. We can talk about Super Bowl prediction. I have the Bills coming out of the AFC. And for all the reasons I've said earlier, I'm not going to go in further depth on that.
Right.
And on the NFC, I think it gets pretty interesting. Like the highest team I have ranked is the Buccaneers. Or sorry, the Rams. But
Right. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see them back in the Super Bowl. I think just to be interesting, I have a feeling that the 49ers are in for a big year. I think Trey Lance is going to be a very good quarterback, and with Kyle Shanahan running I think the Bills are going to beat them in the Super Bowl, but I think that the 49ers are going to be in the Super Bowl this year if they can stay healthy, and if Kyle Shanahan can make Trey Lance a top 10, 12 quarterback in the league, which is 100% possible.
Sure. Yeah, I already said I think the Chargers are going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that's kind of my risky pick. To keep it safe on the NFC side of the ball, I think I'm going to go with the Rams getting back there. I'm not quite sure who I would pick to win, but I'd probably lean towards the Rams. I think that
Going back to back.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of fitting. You look at Aaron Donald; he was supposed to retire before this year. He'd seriously considered it, at least. I think I could definitely see the Rams making a playoff push, getting back to the Super Bowl, winning. Allen Robinson is on like a winning good team for the first time ever, except the 2018 Bears. And that Jaguars team that made it to the AFC Championship, but whatever. And Aaron Donald wins, rides off into the sunset, never to return. I think it'd be kind of a cool story to see that. As much as nobody really likes a back-to-back winner.
Yeah. That could definitely happen. I don't know. Both teams, there's a lot of talent in the league this year, and it's just going to be tough to see who's going to make it. But I don't know. Let's just have some fun with it. Just be excited for this season. And yeah, I don't know. You want to close this out, Cooper?
For sure. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we hope you enjoyed our NFL season preview. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Later.
Yep.